Good Tuesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Plenty to talk about. All-Star weekend coming up in Cleveland. Cavs on the road. Their final game before the All-Star break. We'll talk a little bit about the Cavs and the Browns with Hayden Grove. A little later in the show, Casey Kinnamon will join us. He's from Dawg Pound Daily, talking more about the Cleveland Browns. That's where we begin. So Pro Football Focus released the 101 top players from 2021, graded out by the analytics website Pro Football Focus. Myles Garrett checks in as a top 10 performer, 7th in fact, and you see took over 860 snaps, grades out at a 92.0. Also, just outside of the top 10 for the Browns, checking in at number 11, Joel Bitonio, the guard, was consistently among the top offensive linemen. Remember, he switched over to tackle a couple of games and was the top-graded tackle one of the weeks he played left tackle. 93.8 his grade. Nick Chubb checks in at 36th. You see his grade just over 88. Snaps down a little bit. Remember, Nick Chubb banged up. You see the yards per carry and the yards after contact outstanding as well. And then bottom half of the top 101, another offensive lineman, center J.C. Treader, checks in with an 81.4. Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Hayden, when you look at that, 2 of the Browns' 5 offensive linemen in the top 100. Myles Garrett, a top 10 performer. Joel Bitonio just outside the top 10. And Nick Chubb, one of the top-ranked running backs. A lot of good things. What you don't see there is anything revolving around the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Joel Bitonio is a good pass protector as well as a run protector. The Browns' run game is one of the best in the league, but the passing attack was not there this year. There's no doubt. Be it, lack of weapons, be it Baker Mayfield struggles, be it, the kind of the edge tackles, not having a great season, be that Jed Wills or Jack Conklin or James Hudson as Jack Conklin got hurt. The wide receivers, obviously OBJ just won a Super Bowl in LA, and Jarvis Landry had a down year. But even in reading that little thing there from Pro Football Focus, the reason Nick Chubb isn't higher is because of his lack of production in the pass game. It's the funny thing is that this is such a passing league, right? And when you don't pass the ball well, like the Browns did this year, you're not going to win football games. So I think it goes to show that, yes, the Browns have a great run game, no doubt. They can run the football. But if you can't pass the football, you're not going to win the NFL at the period end. So I think the Browns can pass the football. I don't think they did this year. And I think you could, I think there are 3 to 5 reasons why that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not any one thing. There's several factors that go into it. But I think if you're looking for a positive takeaway from it, I think the takeaway is if the Browns fix the passing game, they're right in there with the top teams in the AFC. Now, there's some work that has to be done. I'm not going to say it's easy. Fix the passing game, and this team is kind of the team you thought it might have been going into last year.
Well, very much easier said than done in terms of fixing the passing game. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, the run-first coach, they're not necessarily they use a lot of tight ends. They don't throw the ball down the field all that often. Baker Mayfield's got to find his accuracy again, got to find his ability to throw the ball down the field, got to have better footwork, got to see better defenses better. He's got a lot of work to do. And the Browns got to add weapons. They got to add wide receivers. They got to add, they got to add legitimate weapons that can get down the field and catch the football. I mean, I think that they have a lot of receivers who, do certain things well, but aren't dynamic enough. I don't think Anthony Schwartz is a good enough pass catcher. I don't think, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a good enough threat to, beat a corner down the field. Yes, he can make contested catches, and that's great. But, Jarvis Landry does a lot of those things well. But will he be here? I mean, he's starting to have, had his first injury this year than ever in his career. So we'll see. There's a lot. There's a lot in the passing game that needs to be fixed. I think it starts with Baker and Kevin. Kevin's got the scheme I didn't think it was there this year. I think teams figured him out, and obviously Baker Mayfield had plenty of issues too. So it starts with those 2, and then it goes to the receivers, and they got to get it fixed. You're right, in some way, shape, or form.
Yep, and in the way that I describe the wide receivers, you got to find a wide receiver or 2 or 3 that threaten the defense. There aren't any of those right now that a defense says, man, I don't want that guy running free. All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the coach and the offense.
I think the reason that you're talking about Baker Mayfield is the fact that Stefanski and the coaching staff has ruined him, just like the Browns have ruined every single quarterback since the Bernie couch. When he was coming out of college at Oklahoma, he was head and shoulders above the best quarterback in the league, in college football. And they blessed him with taking him on the first round because they knew he was. Well, they promised that he was going to be, they were going to design an offense around him. And did they? No, they did not. In his first year, he was good as a freshman coming out and being his first year as a rookie. And then he had various problems with offensive line, with people who were running routes right, like Odell Beckham could never run a straight route in his life and could never gain separation. And COVID and all the other things that went wrong. Yet, during all this, he still endured, and that's the time that Stefanski should have set him down when he got injured, not keep playing him until he lost all confidence in himself.
And again, Hayden, it goes back to what we're saying. There's a number of things. NFL is a very different game than college football. It just is. It's getting closer to it because of the offenses. But I will say they need to find a way to play to some of Baker's strengths. If Baker Mayfield's going to be your quarterback, find a way to give him some things that he can do well and see success in.
Yeah, that's not a guarantee. I mean, obviously, I think the Browns front office is going to look to do whatever possible to, make this team a Super Bowl contender again next season. And if they don't believe in Baker Mayfield, I do. I think that they're legitimate in their belief about Baker Mayfield. But if Russell Wilson is available and they want to make that move, that's fine. But I agree with some of the things the caller said. But here's the thing we have to think about with Baker Mayfield, especially. Baker Mayfield was brought to Cleveland by John Dorsey. He was brought to Cleveland by, to run an offense that's high tempo, that kind of Aaron Rodgers style where you just kind of get out there and sling it 30, 40 times a game. And yeah, you're going to have interceptions, but you're going to have a ton of touchdowns. And now, you're running a Kevin Stefanski offense that doesn't ask that doesn't want that. You don't want to make low percentage throws. You don't want to make low percentage reads. I mean, that's kind of what made Baker so special, was that he made throws that you just were like it was just like, wow, like that should not have happened. I mean, it goes back to that Carolina game a couple of years ago to Jarvis Landry. I mean, that's the throw that he's equipped to make that nobody else can make. So, I mean, maybe not nobody else, but I just don't. So with Kevin Stefanski at the helm, I don't see them running an offense that's going to be based on anything other than a very structured offense, and that's okay. That's fine, but I don't know if it fits Baker Mayfield very well. So the Browns could definitely go in another direction. Maybe Baker Mayfield could want to go in another direction. I certainly believe Baker Mayfield can be a great quarterback in the NFL. I certainly think Baker Mayfield can lead the Browns to where they want to go. But I wouldn't agree that Kevin Stefanski ruined them. They just have very different styles. They're not a great, match. So we'll see if it happens again this season. Maybe they're a better match than I think they are, but it's going to take, both sides to kind of come together on this.
Yeah, there has to be some. If Baker Mayfield is the guy, there has to be some tweaks to play to his strengths. I'm not saying completely scrap what you believe in, but you got to give him the ability to succeed if that's your guy. All right, ESPN.com's way too early power rankings. The Browns are 16th, so right in the middle of the pack. Offseason in 3 words, kind of what we just talked about. Decide on the quarterback, and they kind of go in elite quarterbacking is needed to have any hope of coming out of the AFC. I'm not sure I 100% agree with that, but you are going to have to deal with Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. There's a lot of good young quarterbacks that you're going to have to fight through if you want to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, and it's gonna be that way for a while.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree because, yes, deciding on a quarterback's huge, right? You have to find that guy. But if I think their plan right now is to play Baker Mayfield and to seed. So you give him this 5th-year option and to seed. So they're going to take an entire year or maybe half a year, or at least a couple games to decide on Baker Mayfield. I think they bring in a guy like a Teddy Bridgewater, a Mitchell Trubisky, somebody like that to come in and kind of, be there in case that this thing doesn't work out, and then you kind of, you go from there. But I don't think deciding on a quarterback is the goal this offseason. I think that's kind of the goal of next year, is to decide, okay, can we give Baker Mayfield a 5-year extension? Can Baker Mayfield be our guy? There's a lot to think about there. So it's just, it's a difficult situation. And, every team that's in quarterback limbo is not probably in a great situation. But the thing about the Browns is that I look at the Tennessee Titans, and I look at the great defense they have, and I look at the great running game they have, and I look at Baker Mayfield, and I look at Ryan Tannehill, and I think Baker Mayfield's a much better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. But they can still, the Titans, Tannehill had a terrible game. It was what it was. Still could have won it. They can get to that point. They can be that team. They should be that team. So I don't think all hope is lost. Even if Baker doesn't work out, they can find another quarterback. And as long as they have that run game and that defense, they can be in that situation. So it's kind of a catch-22, because I believe the NFL is an offensive football league where you throw the ball, that's how you win. But if you're going to counter that, at least the Browns do have the best run game of football. And, and they just need a quarterback to supplement it.
Yeah, and kind of dovetailing on what you said about Ryan Tannehill. The difference between Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill has A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. I don't see that on our roster. I just don't. All right.
Nope.
Odds to win the Super Bowl next season. They already are out. This is according to betonline.ag. Chiefs the favorite, +7. Bills +750. Rams 10-1. Bengals 11-1. Browns middle of the pack at 33-1. And again, you see the Colts above them. A lot of what you see in the upper echelon of those favorites is the quarterback play. Mahomes, Allen, Stafford, Burrow, Prescott, Trey Lance, Garoppolo. There's where we get to that question, and then Rodgers. But the reason you have the favorites is because you know who the quarterbacks are, and the quarterbacks are really good for them.
Yeah, and you said the same thing last year about Baker Mayfield, right? Going into the season, you said, man, Baker's taking that step. I was here saying, man, he's going to have an MVP season. He's going to go out. Odell's back. And then I think, just honestly, the way the first 3 weeks went, yes, they were 2-1, but just the way that they went, it just was so obvious, because, okay, you expected to have Odell week 1. You were ready to go. He was ready. Everybody said he was ready to go, and all of a sudden he pulls out, right? Maybe it's for the best for him. That's fine. But there was an expectation he was going to be ready to go. Then he didn't go week 2. And then, then Baker hurts his shoulder. So Baker comes into week 3 having a hurt shoulder. They beat the Bears. It's just like, and then that Chargers game, that game, again, or they had the Minnesota game first, sorry. Minnesota game, Baker and Odell not on the same page, and then they lose to the Chargers. You kind of just saw the wheels kind of falling in the wrong direction. So, yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, the Browns were Super Bowl favorites, and then I think very quickly that kind of turned around. For a lot of reasons. It didn't come together. So the same odds that have the Browns at 33-1 right now, I'm sure the Bengals, if you looked at whatever number they were, I'm sure they weren't anywhere near, where the Browns were to start last season. So I wouldn't worry too much about the odds. It's more about just like how a season comes together, how it all works out. Hell, the Browns beat the Browns beat the Bengals twice this season, and they were, a drive away from winning the Super Bowl. So it's a weird league, and you just got to have some luck on your side. You got to have talent, obviously. You got to have skill. You got to have coaching. You got to have all that. But it's very difficult to do. It's a very difficult thing to win a Super Bowl. That's why you saw so much emotion from so many players on the Rams side. So, I wouldn't worry too much about the odds. I think everybody has somewhat similar odds. Obviously, they're at the very bottom of the barrel and some of the very top of the barrel. But in the middle there, you can certainly win a Super Bowl.
Yep, and the Browns are right in the middle until they try to figure that out. All right, Hayden Grove, plain dealer, cleveland.com, and I, we're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason about Baker Mayfield, plus 4 Browns who will face make-or-break seasons in 2022. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Time for us to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah, my comment was while we're on the subject of Baker Mayfield, I'm wondering why that the media doesn't back off and let Baker Mayfield heal so that he can come back the quarterback he is. And because if you trade him, you're not going to be trading up unless you want to spend a lot of money. So my question is, well, why, basically, don't you let him heal before you beat him down? Thank you very much.
Okay, as always, we appreciate the voicemails. And Hayden, I don't beat down Baker Mayfield at all. The problem, the challenge, it's not a problem. It's a challenge for the Browns. Some of it was the injury. It wasn't all the injury last year, and they've got to get a good handle, like you said. You got to decide, is this the guy moving forward? And last year makes it so tough to really figure out what exactly you have under center there.
Yeah, Dave, I love that call. And no offense to you, because I know you got a show to do, and I'm here to do it with you, but I am so sick of talking about Baker Mayfield.
That's what everybody wants to talk about.
I know. That's the whole point, though, is that we've had the same discussion 30 times. The little nuances change, yes, but she's right. Yeah. Healing, just let him go out there and heal. Like, nothing that he's doing right now is going to, obviously, yes, healing will make him a better quarterback, but like nothing is going to change anyone's opinion. And Baker Mayfield, here's the thing that I find fascinating. This is why we do talk about Baker Mayfield. And this is why everybody is he is the most polarizing figure I've ever seen in Cleveland sports. And maybe second to LeBron, maybe. Because it's just like with LeBron, there was no doubt about his skill, about his absolute dominance, the best player in the NBA, right? When he was in Cleveland, both times. You could not doubt his skill. But still, fans hated him because of this, of that, of the other thing. The same thing goes when he came back. Oh, well, he left us once. We hate him still. We're always going to hate him, blah, blah, blah. Even to this day, people don't let it go. And now Baker Mayfield, not only do you have the discussion about, Baker Mayfield, he plays the most high-profile position in Cleveland sports as quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. There's no doubt. So you add that to the fact that he is a little outspoken. He is a little brash. He is a little cocky. He's all those things. So that turns some people off, and that turns some people on. So that polarizes him there. And then you add the fact that he's had really good seasons, really bad seasons, or not really bad seasons, but he's had really good seasons and some bad seasons, right? That just further divides people. So he really is an incredibly divisive figure. And I think that people just really go to one side and really go to the other side. It's kind of like politics. It's like, the further both sides kind of push each other out more towards the edges of the fringe, when I think the reality is somewhere in the middle. I think that we both can see that it's not all Baker's fault, and Baker's not horrible. Like it's not that Baker's the greatest thing ever. He's not the greatest quarterback ever. He needs to improve. He didn't have a good year, right? But there needs to be a middle ground. So yes, for this offseason, I would just let him be. And then if they make the move at quarterback, then that's a whole different discussion. If they bring in Teddy Bridgewater, or they bring in Mitchell Trubisky, or they bring in Russell Wilson, we can start to talk about, man, Baker, it didn't work, or it's time for Baker to get pushed, or whatever the case may be. But for right now, I agree. He's just got to heal. The season's over. Let's rinse ourselves of it. Let's cleanse. We're done. It's over. Odell got his ring. Move on.
All right, 4 Browns who will face make-or-break seasons in 2022. This is according to Dog Pound Daily, and it's an interesting list. So, number 1, unnamed rookie wide receiver. So it'll be 13 or the second round. Clearly they're going to bring in a wide receiver, and that will definitely be a guy that they need to play well, but I don't know that it'll be make or break. Then you have Denzel Ward. He's facing an extension. 2021, I thought he was really good. I'm not going to lie. He was a lockdown corner. Look at the first game against the Bengals, the way he defended Jamar Chase. I don't know that anybody defended Jamar Chase as well as he did. Then they say Myles Garrett. Again, I'm not sure what's make or break about it. And this one I definitely agree with. If Baker Mayfield's under center, it's make or break season for him without question. It's 5th year. He's going into a big option. Just what are your thoughts about who is facing a make or break season for the Browns coming up in 2022?
I mean, obviously it's Baker Mayfield. I mean, if he's under center, it's Baker Mayfield, no doubt. It's quite literally. If he's taking a snap under center for the Cleveland Browns in Week 1 of 2022, he's playing for his future in Cleveland. He's playing for his contract. That's what it is, right? So he's either going to do it or he's not. And I think in very Cleveland-esque fashion, he'll probably thread that needle so very lightly right up the middle to where you're still like, I don't know, maybe. But in all honesty, I think that, that's the case. Yeah, it's a make or break. But Denzel Ward, I don't agree with. I think he's going to get an extension and he'll be locked up for the next 5 years. Myles Garrett is already, signed for the next, I think, 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, the article did address Myles kind of falling off. And, I think a little bit of it, he was a little banged up. Yes, he had the injuries. And obviously the season is long. But he did so much for other players too. Again, that's part of his job. Yes, we talked when Odell was in Cleveland, we talked about him being a decoy. Well, it's not so much about being a decoy. It's about drawing legitimate attention away from other players and giving them opportunities. You saw, guess who was really damn good when Odell Beckham was with the Rams? Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Because guess what? That gave him more opportunities. It gave him they had another eye to be on. So, Myles is going to be a great player. There's no doubt. I'm not worried about him being make or break. And then the receiver, I mean, they need another receiver, whether it's a rookie, whether it's a free agent, whatever. It's definitely going to be make or break to help whatever they do in the passing game, no doubt.
The other thing I would say is year 3 for Kevin Stefanski is probably pretty important. Year 1 was really good. Year 2, a little bit of a regression. There's reasons for it. Let's see. He's got to have a pretty decent year. Honestly, I think Kevin Stefanski's. It's a pretty important year for him.
Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski are 1A and 1B. I think this is absolutely a make or break year for Kevin Stefanski because in the NFL, not for long. You see coaches getting fired after 1-2 years. Matt Nagy got fired. He was coach of the year. We saw how bad he became. Same thing could very well be with Kevin Stefanski if Baker Mayfield continues to struggle and, the offense continues to not be able to throw the football down the field. So I think it's very make or break for both. I think Andrew Berry's done a good job with this roster. And I know that Andrew Berry's kind of working with Kevin Stefanski on that. But if Kevin Stefanski has a bad year again and they go under 500 and be it with whatever quarterback you bring in or whether it's Baker Mayfield, I mean, I think they could both be on their way out. I really do. If Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski can't go exist next season, I could very well see both of them not being back. So yes, 1A and 1B make or break for Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of the break. Best fits for some of the NFL free agents. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the draft. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Time to take a look. ESPN.com did best fits for upcoming free agents. For the Browns, they say Mike Williams. They ranked him as the 3rd best overall. Browns are the best fit. Chargers will try to re-sign him, might have priced himself out of their availability. They want to give Baker Mayfield boundary target who can isolate on 2nd and 3rd level throws. What are your thoughts, Hayden? What do you think about Mike Williams?
I wanted Mike Williams. I was all on Odell kind of null and void. But I was off Mike Williams' train. I thought that was the better offense with Baker Mayfield. Right back aboard that train. I think the only problem is that, he would be might have priced himself out. So, we'll see how that goes, but I agree.
Yeah, I'll get off track for just a minute. If they aren't able to come to a agreement on a restructured contract with Landry, that might be where you find, the 15, 16 million a year you're going to need to sign Mike Williams. Again, they'll figure something out as far as the salary cap goes. Next one is Jadeveon Clowney, and he is somebody I think fits really well with the Browns. They say the Browns are the best fit for him. I hope there is a way they can find him back. Browns might run into the same thing with him. He might have priced himself out of the market for the Browns. It'll be interesting to see, but I think Clowney and Garrett played really well together.
Yeah, I think, obviously Jadeveon said it kind of during the season that he wants, yes, money is going to be a huge factor. He said it, and I applaud that honesty. Money's, of course, why wouldn't it be? If a team could give him a 2-year deal worth $35 million, then he's going to do it. So if the Browns can find that money, I guarantee you in Andrew Berry's office, there's conversations going on. What positions do we value most? Do we value, Jadeveon's position most? Do we value a free agent wide receiver most? Which is can we get a better value for a wide receiver than we can for a defensive end? I think these conversations are all happening. So you talk about the Jarvis Landry money. Okay, well, say Jarvis isn't back, or say they restructure Jarvis's deal. You move some of that money to Jadeveon. I think Jadeveon Clowney should be their number one target, because as much as I value the wide receiver position, I think it's even more valuable to have a guy to get to the quarterback the way Jadeveon did this year. I think another year in this system, I think another year together with this defense, I think they're going to really come together. So that would be my number one target if I'm the Browns, would be Jadeveon Clowney. Mike Williams is close second, but Jadeveon Clowney, he found it here. He was comfortable here. He and Miles, really worked well together. I know that Jadeveon likes warm weather. I get it. So do a lot of guys, but it's warm for maybe 2 out of the 4 months that you're in the NFL season. So make it work, Browns. If you're the Browns, you got to make it work.
All right, third one is another guy we've kind of talked about here and there and danced around, David Njoku. And again, he's listed as top 50. Browns had started talking contract with Njoku. They haven't kind of moved it forward. It's Kevin Stefanski's offense, not Brian's. They do 2 and 3 tight end schemes. Njoku is a young guy who I think is ascending. The one thing I will say about Njoku, Hayden, and we've talked about this on the show, they got to find a way to use him better. He is a guy that you can find matchup problems with, and the Browns need to find a way to exploit that. And I understand he's dropped passes and that. He's a matchup problem.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I think about it, the more that I kind of think I lied to you. I think in terms of top targets, because I don't think David Njoku, I didn't lie to you, because I did think David Njoku would probably be third on that list in terms of salary. But David Njoku is a guy that I didn't like for a while. I thought couldn't catch, didn't want to be here, didn't block well. It was like, all right, then what's the point of what are we looking at here? I mean, he was a first round pick. I mean, what are you bringing him in here for? And then he's grown, he's developed, and that's a credit to him. He's done it through different regimes. He's done it through different coaches. He's done it through, bad seasons. He's done it through different agents. He's had immense growth. And I think you're right. I think what we forget, and what I forgot, is he was super young, and he's only grown and matured and gotten better. He's worked on his hands. He's worked on blocking. He's worked on getting open down the field. And I think that he genuinely does want to be in Cleveland, because I think he sees the value in this offense and what he can do. So I think the Browns should do everything in their power to bring him back as well, because I think you're just going to see the best version of David Njoku next year. The hands are going to be better. I think you're going to see a better job out of him blocking, which I think improved immensely. My thought would be, Austin Hooper's making a lot of money, and he's not half the athlete that David is. I don't think he's on his way up. I think he's maybe plateaued even. So could there be a situation where you could maybe move Hooper to keep Njoku? I don't know. Harrison Bryant's still young. We'll see how it goes. But I think David Njoku should be that number one priority in that tight end room, no doubt.
Yep. And the other thing you mentioned, Young, he was also pretty raw. He hadn't played a lot of football when he came out of the Miami University. All right. Let me ask you this. Are you completely sold that the Browns are going to take a wide receiver at 13? I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
I was for a time. And I still think it's the number one need, right? But I look at Andrew Berry, and, he's going to take the guy that has the best value. If that's a wide receiver, great. But if there's a guy in the top 10 that falls to 13 and he says, man, this is a guy who can really help us at whatever position, I think he's going to take him. I think you find ways to make guys fit. You find ways to make things work. So I think they have a ton of contingency plans. And yes, I think at the end of the day, a wide receiver will be taken by the Browns, whether it's in the first round or the second round or whatever. And I think if you're looking at the Browns draft board, I think there's probably 2 to 3 wide receivers in their top 10 of what they're going to want at number 13. But, I could see, we were talking the other week, I think I could see him drafting an offensive lineman. I could see him drafting a center. I could see him drafting another tight end. I could see him drafting, a defensive lineman. I mean, it's about what the fit is at 13 and what they, who the player is. We didn't think the Browns would have a shot at JOK, and there he was, and boom, you go get him. So I think Andrew Berry's astute at what he does in terms of drafting, and I think he's going to do the same when it comes to this NFL draft.
The other thing I'll say is the last 2 seasons, you should trust him. The drafts were pretty good. So all that fun, a little bit over, 6, 7, 8 weeks away. First you got the Combine, then you got the draft. Free agency starts in between there. So things are heating up here the next month to 6 weeks. All right. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of break. Hayden Grove and I turn our attention to the Cavaliers. We'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and we will also hear from Kevin Love and JB Bickerstaff, Sports4CLE, talking Cavs when we return. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
We turn our attention to the Cavs. They'll play their last game before the All-Star break tonight on the road. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Cavs.
Dave, as true all-around Cleveland sports fans, we are very lucky this year, going from a season of the Browns that had such high expectation to a total letdown. Now we are fortunate to gear our attention to a Cavs team that is surprising everyone, playing as a true team, everyone fitting into their role, no one complaining of not getting the ball enough, and even though injuries have occurred, someone has stepped in and has done a great job. Veterans who has accepted their roles as leaders and doing a great job with the minutes that they're playing. A team of very good players without the drama of a superstar. It will be refreshing and exciting to see how the second half of the season will finish out.
So welcome back in, Hayden Grove. Hayden Grove, the other thing I will say about that, they are young. I mean, they added Karis LeVert. He's 27 and is kind of the oldest guy of the core. Most of them 24 or younger that are starting. So this is kind of a building team, and it'll be very interesting to see. The second half will be fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I just thought it was funny. He brought up, the no drama of a superstar. That's, of course, who cares about the drama if you have a superstar? It's like, my goodness, LeBron James had all the drama in the world. He still took you to 4 consecutive finals. Who cares? But it is refreshing. It's nice. You're right. I mean, sometimes it is good to have no drama, and that's certainly where the Cavaliers are at right now. I mean, even last year when they weren't playing well, they had kind of drama with Kevin Love, and he was right. He's right. The caller's right. I mean, they've bought in. Every single person on that team has bought into what they're doing. And you're right. They are super young. I mean, you're looking at Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert, they're all below 20. They're 27 or below. Most of them are 25 or below. So it's definitely exciting to watch such a young team come together and to really buy in. I think, when you talk about the second half of the season, I think you're going to see more of the same because these guys play hard. They're young. They have the ability to. They're not taking nights off. They're not taking, they're not, playing it chill mode, as LeBron used to say. I mean, they're going. So I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. I think they're going to really gun for that top seed in the Eastern Conference, which you're right. After a terrible Brown season and in terms of a lot of different things, luck, whatever, they finished 8-9. I mean, it's going to be refreshing. It's very refreshing to watch a Cavs team that's fun night in and night out. And you're right, they're young, but they're fun, which is great.
So Kevin Love talked yesterday, actually. They're getting ready for a game today. He talked yesterday about what this young team can learn from that loss on the road against the 76ers, who are going to be one of the favorites in the East as well. Here's Kevin Love on that loss.
I think the one thing that they did was 76ers did was just, push us out of our spots, showed physicality, hit us on screens, and it felt like they were out to prove a point. It felt like a playoff type of environment. So we have to learn how to deal with switches, again, take the attack to them, play downhill. And I think if we do that, that'll solve a lot of our problems because pretty much everything we do outside of that, we go extremely hard and, we defend and play the right way. But we definitely need to be a hit first, more physical type of team. And I feel like, there's times where we do that and sometimes where we don't. So just be more consistent in doing that and understanding, whether it be myself or Doe or Ed or guys that have played playoff basketball, that is what it's going to be like. So I have an understanding of getting better and bringing the attack to the other team.
Hey, and the other thing I'll say about this team, and I've paid pretty close attention to it, they learn lessons pretty quickly. Even in game, it's like this isn't working. We can go to this, and that surprised me a little bit. They came back on the Sixers, and then the Sixers kind of put them away. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out and adjust to that.
Yeah, they've been so good at this year is they haven't had extended losing streaks. I mean, that's what you saw with the Browns kind of the last year, that they would lose a game and they wouldn't lose the next one. So that's kind of what the Cavaliers have done all year long. They have a battle tonight with Trae Young, and, that'll be a tough one. But I also think Philly's a bad matchup for Cleveland. And because Joel Embiid is such a he's such a force. And not that Jared Allen isn't a force. Jared Allen is a force. He's great. But, Joel Embiid plays kind of the same way as Jared Allen, but does it with maybe 50 more pounds. And you can't really put more size on Jared Allen to make him kind of a better matchup fit. You add James Harden there, and that's even a more, if I would not want to see the Cavs play Philly in the playoffs. That's all I'll say, because I think Philly, I think they got a legit shot to win this whole thing, and the Cavs do too, but I just don't think the Cavs match up well with Philly. But back to your point, you're right. I think that, they took that game against Philly. Maybe Jared Allen does learn, says, hey, I got to be more aggressive with Joel, or I got to bother him in some other way because I'm not going to be able to body him up. He's just that much bigger than me. I got to do things differently. I got to, maybe pester him a little bit, get him off his game, get him off his spots, or just kind of, be annoying. I don't know. That's kind of how I would kind of try to attack a guy like that. So that's a tough matchup for Cleveland. But like I said, they learn lessons very quickly. You're right. You're absolutely right. And, we'll see how they bounce back tonight against Atlanta before they get a little break here.
The other thing, talked to Kevin Love and Bernie Bickerstaff again in that media availability, and they talked just about how important the size is. Keep in mind, they've been missing Lauri Markkanen. He's not going to play tonight. So that's that third 7-footer. But here is the coach and Kevin Love on how important that size inside is to what the Cavs are doing.
It's a luxury for sure. If you look at percentages around the rim, on league average compared to ours, our guys are elite at it. And they, it changes the game. A lot of people don't even want to go in there because they see them there. A lot of times people see ghosts and won't even go in there. And, that's an advantage for our defense. And again, a critical part of why we've been able to be successful on that end.
our defense is predicated on those big guys kind of funneling everything into them, knowing that if one guy steps up, the other big is going to be there to protect, and then everybody on that weak side has to do their part in keeping that other big or anybody crashing from the weak side off the glass. But they do, again, such a great job for us every single night. And on top of that, we have guys that can defend multiple positions. So being able to switch 1 through 3, sometimes 1 through 4, 3 through 5, whatever it may be, it's such a luxury to have those two that are dynamic and that can guard in that way.
And again, the thing is, you throw Markkanen in there. They're not only 7-footers; they're 7-footers with really good feet that are agile, that can jump. So just keep doing that. Once Markkanen comes back, you get back to what you do best, and that's, defend.
I agree. I completely agree. No team defends like the Cavaliers. And when they have Markkanen, they're a totally different animal. And that's nothing against, whoever they're playing, be it Karis LeVert or, Okoro or whatever. I mean, Okoro is a great defender. And Darius really isn't. Karis LeVert really isn't. Karis LeVert was brought in to be, kind of an offensive force. And he showed that against the Pacers when they made that big comeback. But he's not necessarily brought in for his defense. So I think when Markkanen comes back, just his sheer size with Evan Mobley and with Jared Allen, I think you're going to start to see them kind of, continue to grow and continue to get better and better on the defensive end of the floor. So they're right. They're absolutely right. That's what makes the Cavaliers different. The ghost thing, that's a great comment by JB Bickerstaff, is the ghost. You're right. When you got 3 guys that are 7 foot, you're seeing hands out of nowhere. It's crazy. So I completely agree with him. And, they're lucky they avoided a serious injury with Lauri Markkanen, because that could seriously derail what they've been able to do this season. So they'll be excited to have him back, no doubt. What they get from him offensively now is not as big, because Karis LeVert's there to fill that void. They just need him to continue to use his size, to use his athleticism, to be a little bit of a force in the defensive end.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Hayden, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. You have a great one, man.
You too, Hayden Grove. Make sure you read them. Pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of the break. We go back to Talking Browns. We head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We shift our attention back to the Browns and the NFL, and it's time to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns quarterback.
Hey there, bud. Got one question. Why doesn't the Browns pick a quarterback that stands over 6 foot tall, like maybe 6'5". You know, somebody taller. It seems like the last quarterbacks we've had, the last, 5, 6, they've been small quarterbacks. Why don't we try a big one? Why don't we go that route? I'm not saying not going to say Baker's got to go, but why don't we try a taller, bigger quarterback? Just want to know. Thank you.
And again, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily. Casey, it's important to note that last selection was not a Andrew Berry selection. You know, that was a John Dorsey selection. And you could say John Dorsey didn't pay attention to size because they also brought in Tyrod Taylor. And I get where he's going. Standard thing is you want a guy 6'3" or bigger is usually the cutoff with a quarterback. Do you think the analytics-driven front office will kind of switch to that?
Well, that's something we don't know. You know, the triumvirate of Podesta and Barry and Stefanski have yet to draft a quarterback, so we don't know which direction they would go. But I would also caution that size isn't a direct correlation to winning. You know, you look at like Aaron Rodgers being 6'2", or Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, you know, these guys aren't giants. You know, I think everyone's infatuated with the Joe Burrow, Herbert, Allen, those guys that are 6'4" and 6'5". But you could also turn it around and Daniel Jones is 6'4". Carson Wentz is 6'5". You know, it's not indicative of winning. So I think it just needs to fit your play style. Now, would you want your quarterback to be taller than 6 foot? Absolutely. But we're seeing people fawn over Kyler Murray, who's listed at 5'10". Is he 5'10"? I doubt it. Russell Wilson at 5'11". So only time will tell. I do believe the Browns will take a stab at a quarterback probably on day 3 of the draft this year, and we'll kind of see where they go from there.
Fair enough. All right. You wrote an article on Dog Pound Daily kind of dissecting the de-evolution of what's happened with Baker. Take us through that and kind of where you went with it.
Well, you look at the tail of the season, it all comes back to that game against the Texans when he first injures his shoulder. And you saw the play just slip from there. And then he further injures his arm again and breaks the humerus against the Arizona Cardinals. And it just fell off a cliff, you know. And even though we can always point to the physical, you know, that was why he fell short, a lot of it was between his ears. Now, how much of that was caused from injury, that's up for debate. But that's where we're at right now. A lot of the problems that he can have the surgery and everything be corrected physically, but how much of a slip that he was mental, and how can he overcome that? How can he approach this down period right now where he can't do any physical activity to get his mind right? I mean, I'm hoping he unplugged from everything and just the last several weeks have just been around family and friends and kind of get himself back to level so that he can approach the offseason, you know, and he's always done everything by himself. And I hope he understands that you don't have to. He needs to reach out to outside sources. They call them quarterback gurus. I'll call them mechanical experts like Jeff Christensen or Quincy Avery, or, you know, even pick up the phone and give Drew Brees a call. You know, he needs to figure out how can he be the best version of himself. That's what he really needs to look in the mirror and figure out. And I believe that if he can do that, we might be looking at Baker in Cleveland for the next 3 to 4 years. But if not, he has this offseason to get it fixed, or he's going to be gone. That's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah. And again, you certainly hope he finds a way to fix it, because if he fixes it, everybody's happy. All right. Another article that you wrote, Future of the Browns Offensive Line. Take us through that and kind of the thought process there.
Well, I mean, if you look at just the way they're constructed right now, you have 3 all-pro caliber players on the team, a veteran center, and then you have a top 10 pick in Wills. But they're not going to be able to remain that way. They're only under contract together as a unit for 1 more season. And then I think the elephant in the room is the Jack Conklin knee injury. He tore his patellar tendon, and there's no guarantee that he's going to be back at full strength in time to even help the team this year. So they have to have contingency plans in place so that they don't have much of a drop-off. Now, we saw James Hudson get his number called, and he wasn't ready at first, and he made some improvements by the time he got his number called again. Is he going to be able to make a big enough leap that he can be the starting right tackle if he can't go? And if not, they need to look at some free agents who can, like, buoy the team in the meanwhile, like Jermaine Ifedi or Morgan Moses or someone of that nature. But I think one position that they might turn over that they are ready for is J.C. Tretter. There is a chance he's already played his last game in Cleveland. He's been battling for years now with a degenerative knee, and they drafted his backup 2 years ago, and we didn't get to see Nick Harris in action until this year at center. And we got to see him on Christmas Day against the Packers, and he made a very good account of himself. Now, that's a very small sample size, but what I saw was very encouraging, and I think that they may move on from Tretter and let Harris run center going forward.
Well, one thing that they did do is they extended both guards, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller, let's take a look. Showing some pretty good footwork here from the Instagram account. Take a look at the big guy.
Nice. Yeah, I always have an affinity for the big guys.
Good balance.
You can tell it's not his first time on a dance floor.
Yeah. You gotta like that, you know. He moves a little bit like a skill position guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you love to see it. You just love to see the big guys get down and cut loose.
You know what? And you know what? That's one of the reasons. Assuming he continues to play well, he'll be real popular. You know, that's. Do you have a PFF grade on the dance floor there?
I'm going to give that a solid 88. I got to. That was very impressive.
All right. Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We are talking NFL Draft with Casey Kinnamon from the Dog Pound Daily. When we return, stay with us.
Throughout his life, Call and Post editor W.O. Walker was a nationally respected spokesperson for African Americans.
Most American people are beginning to feel that anarchy and crime is beginning to take over the nation, that there's a growing disrespect for law and order, and therefore no one is safe even in their own home.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, this one about the upcoming draft.
Here's what I would like the Browns to do in this offseason. First of all, I really don't want them to pick a quarterback. I don't want them to grab a quarterback in free agency because you're just asking for more money that you're going to need to pay. And it's been shown lately that the receivers coming out of college are pretty good to start off with. So anyway, I would look, upgrade my defense to the free agency if I had to. But as far as, I would say, offensively, here's what I like the Browns to do. First, I'd like them to take Drake London, 6'5" receiver. Pretty good. And I think he'd start off immediately being good. After that, I'd like the Browns to go see if they can get Carson Strong, 6'4" quarterback. So right now you got a 6'5" receiver, 6'4" quarterback. You don't have to pay him a lot of money right now. Drake will start off right away. Carson Strong will have to sit for a year. Then I'd come right back. And after that, go back to Nevada and I'd grab Cole Turner, their 6'6" tight end. By the way, the quarterback will already be familiar with those after his year is up. Then I'd come right back to Nevada one more time, and I'd grab the 6'2" receiver, Romeo Dobbs. All these guys, you don't have to pay them big money for a while. That's how you do it right there. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Casey Kinnamon, 3 Nevada players. Now, important to note, they did have some success with Joel Bitonio. He's from Nevada. Austin Corbett, he played for the Rams in the Super Bowl, but they drafted him. I'm not so sure 3 guys from the same college in a draft is a good idea. Strong's an intriguing guy. London's intriguing. Your thoughts on those 2?
Well, I wouldn't be mad at London at 13. He's a very highly skilled player. good size, separates at the catch point. I think if he's your draft pick, you'd be happy with that. Carson Strong is the next pick. I couldn't do that. I would pass. I mean, he is 6'4". He has a strong arm, but he's more of a statue in the pocket. Doesn't sense pressure really well. Fades a lot when he throws. So I wouldn't go there at the second pick. Cole Turner is an intriguing prospect. He does have very good size. He's really good at boxing and shading with his body. And he's someone that you could bring along as a developmental tight end if the Browns decide to go that route. Say if they cut Austin Hooper and they look to bolster the room, that wouldn't be a terrible pick depending on where you could get him. And Romeo Doubs is an intriguing prospect also. I think he'll go higher than the Browns would want to go for their second wide receiver, though.
All right, let's take a look. Chad Reuter from NFL.com did a 3-round mock draft. So the Browns have 4 picks in this. He has them going Treylon Burks, big-bodied wide receiver. And Casey, the more I watch Treylon Burks, the more I like Treylon Burks. I would be not upset at all if the Browns went and got him.
No, not at all. Treylon Burks, yes, please. That would be my, wide receiver of preference at number 13. I would very much enjoy that. But, I mean, there's other options. It depends on what they're looking for. Garrett Wilson's another guy who could also be sitting there. And so they have some big decisions to make and kind of decide which direction they want to take the wide receiver room. There are several great options and really no wrong answers if you get one of those top 4.
All right, in this draft at 44, they have the Browns selecting an edge rusher from the Penn State Nittany Lions, a multiple-year guy, Arnold Bicchetti, and I'm sure I butchered the last name. Thoughts on it? I'm sure wide receiver and edge are 2 areas that need to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just period for the Browns defensive line. They only have 4 players under contract going, into this season with Garrett, Curtis Weaver, Tommy Togiai, and Phillips. So they definitely need to overhaul some things. Bicchetti is a really intriguing prospect, but if I was going to go in the second round, I would get Kingsley Nagabare, I believe is how you pronounce it, out of South Carolina. He's very intriguing for me. Or even Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati. So there's a couple good edge prospects, and I kind of have a feeling that's where they'll go with the second round pick.
Yeah, and I think 1 and 2 are probably going to be edge and wide receiver, and it probably depends who they're looking at 13. I'm sure they've identified guys that they would prefer. All right, in the 3rd round now, they have 2 picks. They have a linebacker, Christian Harris from Alabama, going at 78, and then a defensive tackle with the supplemental pick from Ohio State, Haskell Garrett. So I'm not sure they'd go linebacker that high. Maybe they would. Defensive tackle makes a lot of sense. They need some help on the interior defensive line.
Yeah, that's my initial thought as well. I don't think they'll go linebacker with the first, third round pick, or even the second, to be honest with you. There's tons of defensive tackles, though, that could be there that would help this team immensely. Like Jones out of Connecticut, or Perry and Winfrey. That's another one that's really climbing up draft boards right now. Very intriguing prospect. And then even someone like Ridgeway out of Arkansas as well, just like Burks. But I wouldn't be mad at Haskell Garrett either. I just don't see them going linebacker that early.
All right, before I let you go, gut feeling. Do you think it is a wide receiver at 13, or do you think they go somewhere else?
I think it's the biggest deficiency on this team. I think they have to address the wide receiver, and they have to get someone dynamic. And I think if you let one of those top 4 guys go by you, you're squandering a valuable opportunity to get a legit playmaker on this offense. And, even if Baker doesn't work out, you want whoever comes in to inherit a dynamic receiver. That is key in the NFL, as we saw, just 2 nights ago in the Super Bowl. Like, you need a number 1, and I think they have a valuable opportunity. And don't get me wrong, stranger things have happened, but I think this is the time to go pull the trigger and go out there and get their Batman.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a deep draft at the wide receiver position. You can get a guy you think fits that you really like. Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily. As always, Casey, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Casey Kinnamon, make sure you read him, Dawg Pound Daily. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests, Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan, Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter from The Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. That is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll see you here on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody.